You're listening to Pombo and Peter's Picks, the home of your favorite sports betting podcast. Presented by The Daily Goat.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pombo and Peter's Picks. I'm Jason Pombo, joined as always by Peter Alves. Peter, unfortunately, we broke a promise to the viewers and listeners this week. We do not have a guest to break down the AFC North and the NFC North, but we should have a guest next week. So we will kind of tease that, but no guest this week.
They'll flake again. It's totally fine. Noah, Dylan, Matt, everybody. Everybody hates us.
Everybody hates us, but little preview to next week. Next week, me and Peter are going to talk some college football. So without giving our guest away, you can figure out who we're going to have on. So
one of my best episodes of the year. I just sit back, bring the funnies, and
yeah. So if you like college football or you like the funnies of college football, tune into next week's episode. But Peter, this is our last division breakdown of the year. Ain't that crazy? It went by quick.
It is one of our best shows. Or listen, the last 6 weeks, pretty good. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. So from a viewer or listener standpoint, we have the NFC North and AFC North this week. Next week, we're doing college football preview. The week after that, we will do NFL awards and Super Bowl predictions. So that is a lot of fun. So get your futures out, Peter, because I got some bold takes for you. I don't have all of them written in stone, but a couple of them I really like, and I think a couple of them you'll be really surprised about. So let's get right into it, Peter. Let's start off with the NFC North, a division which I believe is very intriguing with a lot of different possibilities. You could make a case that any of these teams can win it, or at least three of them for sure. Let's start off with the Detroit Lions. Of course, famously Noah Burns of Roughing the Baskets team. The Detroit Lions are favored to win the NFC North. They are at plus 140 according to DraftKings, and their win total is set at 9.5 wins. This has to be the first time the Lions have been favored to win the division in, got to be at least 2 decades?
Yeah, probably. There's no full everyone runner. So probably.
Yeah. It feels like maybe they got a year. Yeah, you're right. Even the Stafford Megatron days, Rodgers was still in the division. Yeah, so this has to be the first time they're favored to win the division in quite some time. But a little bit about the Lions offseason. They signed running back David Montgomery to a 3-year deal worth about $18 million. They signed cornerback Cameron Sutton to a 3-year, $33 million deal. They lost wide receiver DJ Chark to the Carolina Panthers. Running back Jamal Williams left to the Saints. And they traded De'Aaron Swift to the Philadelphia Eagles. But replacing Swift will be first-round running back Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama, who they selected. They also selected linebacker Jack Campbell from Iowa in the first round of the draft. Also goes without saying that wide receiver Jameson Williams, I think he was a first or second round pick last year from Alabama. He's going to miss the first 6 games of the season due to a gambling suspension. So the Lions, like I said, Peter, favored to win the NFC North at plus 140. Win total set at 9.5 games. What do you think about the Lions in 2023? There's a lot of hype surrounding them. Felt like the hype kind of started last year when Hard Knocks was going on. It's kind of carried on to this year after they sort of overachieved last year.
That's why I have them as a slight under. I think they're going to win 9 games, a slight under. We all love the Lions. I think they're for real for a little bit. I think their offense will do fine. I think their defense still needs work, even though they're first round pick. But I do like the Lions, but sort of the under.
So you're taking the under?
Yeah.
I'm going to take the slight over. You have them winning 9 games. I have them winning 10. I think they go 10-7. A big reason why I think is, look, I like how their offense is kind of constructed. I know Jahmyr Gibbs, that's the pick of him in the first round, got a lot of eyebrows raised, but I think he's going to make an impact immediately. I think the Lions offensive line is good. And I think Jared Goff, look, he's kind of come under center and made a difference for this Lions team. At the earlier part of last season, a lot of people thought he was going to get cut. Not cut, I should say, but benched and potentially traded. Because this season is the last year where he has no guaranteed money left on his deal. So he still has a lot to play for. To put into perspective how good of a year Jared Goff had last year, he had 29 touchdowns and 7 picks. You know, that's sort of crazy to me. I know the Lions only went 9-8 last year, but he went on an absolute tear in the second half of the season. And the Lions made a very, very good opportunity to make a playoff run, but they were ended up being a game short. So I like them over winning 10 games. Jared Goff is somebody that I think is kind of underrated. Crazy to say. Also, Ben Johnson, they were able to retain him as the offensive coordinator. I think he's been a real mastermind in Detroit, and he's somebody that should get head coaching looks, and he's done a great job. And I do like the additions the Lions made to the receiving core this offseason, and I like them. 10-7 for the Lions, in my opinion. I'll take the over.
Be really cool, really hyped. Catch one the first game of the year.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. I remember we talked about it early for the schedule release that they are going to Kansas City in that opening Thursday night game. That's a lot of pressure for a team that is coming off. Look, they didn't make the playoffs last year. I think their last playoff appearance was in 2018, not even maybe 17. I don't even remember
Whenever
what it was.
they lost to the Cowboys, right?
Yeah, with Stafford. I think it was 2000. Maybe 14,
wait, no.
maybe
14, because that was Dez caught it,
yeah,
and then he didn't touch it.
2014. So look, you're a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in nearly a decade. Look, they get a lot of hype around them, and having that opening kickoff, that is a real credit to them. All right, let's move on, Peter. Let's talk a little bit about the Minnesota Vikings. They won the NFC North last year. Everybody remembers how high I was about them last year. The Vikings, they are set at 8.5 wins according to DraftKings, and they are plus 275 to win the NFC North. The Vikings signed cornerback Byron Murphy to a 2-year deal worth $22 million. They agreed to a 2-year deal worth $7 million with running back Alexander Mattison. Alexander Mattison will take over the Vikings' lead running back role, with Dalvin Cook moving on to the New York Jets. So the Dalvin Cook sweepstakes are finally over, Peter. Dalvin Cook signed with the New York Jets, a 1-year deal worth up to $8.1 million a couple days ago. They also signed center Garrett Bradbury to a 3-year deal worth about $15 million. And they also inked edge rusher Marcus Davenport to a 1-year deal worth $13 million. In the first round of the NFL draft, they selected wide receiver Jordan Addison from USC. Just to repeat here, they were set at plus 275 to win the NFC North, and their win total is at 8.5. What do you think about the Vikings in 2023 after an overachieving 2022 season?
So I have them as a slight under as well. Obviously, there was a stat out there. They won like 11-0 or something in one possession games. Obviously, that's going to flip. 13-4. They're the luckiest team we ever saw. They shouldn't have won versus the Colts. Shout out to Cadero, if you know, you know. But I don't think their defense got any better. Their offense probably did. I mean, no Dalvin Cook's going to hurt. No even out of Thielen. But they should be fine. Kirk Cousins is playing for a job, which is insane. But he's playing for a job or playing for his next job. But there you go. The slight under. They way overachieved last year. I wanted that number to be like 9.5, 10 since they won 13 games. But
yeah, you're right. It feels like Vegas even thinks they're sort of fraudulent after that 13-game season they're coming off of. To say they're down to 8.5 wins, and the only real playmaker they lost on both sides of the ball was Dalvin Cook. And, he's a running back who is in the later stage of his career. So I do think Vegas has a lack of faith in the Minnesota Vikings, and I think that's apparent. I agree with you, though. I'm going to take the under after being so high on them this year. I'm not as high, I should say, as high as I was on them last year. I'm not as high on them this year. I'm going to take the under. I think they win 8 games, so slight under. I think they go 8-9. I do think, like you just mentioned, after they were like 11-0 in 1-score games, I think that, law of averages, that's going to kind of change a little bit. And I think the division is better this year than it was last year in some instincts of it. I know last year Aaron Rodgers was in the division, but this year you look at it, the Lions are improved, the Chicago Bears have improved, and the Green Bay Packers are indeed a wild card. But I do think overall the division has improved as a whole. I do like the head coach. I like O'Connell a lot, but I think they take a step back. And an underrated storyline that you mentioned was the fact that Kirk Cousins is indeed playing for his job. The Vikings elected to not extend him this offseason. They're going to let him head into free agency or place the franchise tag on him, either or. And I think they're definitely not in love with him as their future quarterback. And look, Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, he's an above average quarterback. I think he kind of gets too much flack. Like, you look at his numbers the last couple of years, he's been Look, his playoff failures are obvious. We all know that he's sort of underachieved in that element. But look, Peter, his last 2 years as the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, 2021, he had 33 touchdowns, 7 picks. Last year, he had 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. His completion percentage the last 2 years have been really highlights of his career, 66.3% and 65.9%. His quarterback rating, over 103.1, 92.5 last year. He's a good quarterback, in my opinion, not a great quarterback, but the Vikings feel like they can't get rid of him fast enough. I think they're ready to kind of move on here. But I'm going to take the under, Peter.
If you got JJ, though, like, you can just throw it up.
You think so? I mean,
yeah, I mean, if you got Jefferson, you can just throw it up. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. I agree with you, though. Jefferson is an elite playmaker. I think he's the best receiver in the NFL. But even that, I think the Vikings take a little bit of a step back this year. 8-9 for me. Let's move on to the Green Bay Packers. The Packers, of course. This year is a lot different from the previous couple decades under center. So they are now plus 400 to win the NFC North. And according to DraftKings, their win total is set at 7.5 wins. The Packers offseason is pretty much in one sentence. They lost quarterback Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets.
Wait, really? They did?
They did, Peter. And they're going to go with fourth-year quarterback Jordan Love. Jordan Love, of course, who was a first-round pick a couple years ago. He's going to be the successor of Aaron Rodgers. The Packers also lost wide receiver Allen Lazard to the New York Jets. And with the 13th overall pick of the NFL draft, they selected linebacker Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. So the Packers, win total probably the lowest it's been in 2 decades at 7.5. And plus 400 to win the division is probably the longest odds they've had in quite some time. You probably have to go as far from maybe to Aaron Rodgers' first year as a starter when they went 6-10. So what do you think about the Green Bay Packers, a new era in Green Bay with Jordan Love?
Yeah, I love Green Bay this year just because all the steam is off them. They're completely written off, quote unquote. I mean, Jordan Love, I think, will be fine. He's a great mobile quarterback. We'll see. I mean, him in preseason games is a mess, but for like a whole year and nobody breathing down his neck, whatever. Wide receivers, I mean, Christian Watson, fine, but like their second and third receiver, oh my God. And then like their defense, it's gonna be like the Patriots. I mean, they're gonna be a top 5 defense no matter what. So I'm pretty sure they can do better than people think they are. I mean, Rodgers only had 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions last year. He didn't play that good, even though he's Aaron Rodgers. And they still won, what was it, like 8 games? So like I don't think they'll be that bad.
I'm taking the over too, Peter. I'm with you. I think the Packers win 9 games. I think they go 9-8. And look, Jordan Love he's a wild card. Nobody really knows how he's going to perform here, but I think he's going to perform okay. I think he's going to be inconsistent, but I think he's going to be good enough. I think Matt LaFleur is going to scheme it up. Christian Watson is somebody who I think is going to burst onto the scene this year. I think he's going to be playing at Pro Bowl level talent this year. He's somebody that kind of burst onto the scene at the end of last year, but I think this year, yeah, me too. This year, I think he's going to take another step forward, and I think he's going to help Jordan Love as well. And I think that Packers defense with Jair Alexander, I think it's good enough to keep them in games. I really do. I think the coaching staff is going to scheme it up for Jordan Love. And I think they win 9 games. 9-8 seems pretty fair for the Green Bay Packers. I don't think they're going to go to the bottom, but I don't think they're going to be world beaters in the NFC. I have them at 9-8. So I'm going to take the over. All right. Last but not least, Peter, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. The Bears also have a plus 400 odds to win the NFC North, and their win total is set at 7.5, the same exact total as the Green Bay Packers. And the Bears, of course, are coming off a season in which they were the first overall pick of the draft. They won 3 games last year. So Vegas does like the Bears. The Bears acquired wide receiver DJ Moore from the Carolina Panthers. They signed linebacker Tremaine Edmonds to a 4-year, $72 million deal. Tremaine Edmonds coming over from the Buffalo Bills. They also signed guard Nate Davis to a 3-year deal worth $30 million. And with the 10th overall pick, the Bears selected offensive tackle Denard Wright from Tennessee. And the Bears, look, it felt like a theme this offseason for them was protecting Justin Fields because they did not do a good job of that last year. So, like I mentioned before, Bears plus 400 to win the NFC North with the win total at 7.5 games. What do you think about the Chicago Bears in 2023?
have them as a hard under. They're getting way too much love just because Justin Fields can run. I mean, he's electric, good fantasy quarterback, but I don't know. Wide receivers. I mean, I like DJ Moore, but they're not that good. Their offensive line is still a mess. I think he's ultimately going to get killed. Their defense didn't even get that much better either. Have another sleeper of them being the worst team in the NFL again.
I think people are so overrating the Bears with you. I'm totally with you. Some people, did you know that is the most popular prop bet in Vegas right now is Justin Fields MVP tickets?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get that.
Seriously,
Like he's so good, but like he's not gonna win. And like
I
he
think
can
it's
run
because
for like 300 yards, but he'll like lose like 42 to like whatever.
I think
Cool.
it's more the fantasy element of it, like you kind of said, the running element of it, Peter. His first 2 years of a starter, he has a 5-20 record. You know, like I just don't necessarily see it. I know a lot of people are making the correlation to Jalen Hurts, like, oh, Jalen Hurts, he's a running-ish quarterback, and he burst onto the scene, and I just don't necessarily see it. You know, Jalen Hurts was put in a situation with an offensive-minded head coach, an offensive-minded sort of cast around him with Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, elite running backs, elite offensive line, elite defense, elite offensive coordinator. And Justin Fields doesn't have that right now. He just simply doesn't. Matt Eberflus is still the head coach over there. He comes from the defensive side of the ball. And their offensive coordinator is Luke Getsy. Luke Getsy was formerly of the Green Bay Packers, and I'm just not a Luke Getsy guy. He's not one of these young, innovative guys. I say the Bears win 6 games. I do think they improve from last year. Last year, they won 3 games. This year, I have them winning 6. So it is an improvement, but they're not winning more than 6. You can burn your Justin Fields MVP tickets because that's not going to happen. He's just not the guy that everybody thinks he is. I have some question marks about him as a passer, some of his decision making. And he seems like somebody that keeps getting these passes. And the reality is he's thrown 21 interceptions in 25 starts now. That's almost a pick a game. And I don't know. I'm just not a Justin Fields guy. While I do see the potential that everybody else sees, I just don't think he has enough around him like Jalen Hurts had, like Joe Burrow had as a young quarterback, like Justin Herbert has. So I just don't necessarily see it.
Got him down plus 1,700 for the worst team in the NFL.
So you think they could be the worst team back-to-back years, huh?
I really do. I mean, they're getting so much love just because of that. I don't really know where it's all coming from, though.
Yeah.
And it's the Bears. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right, Peter, who do you got winning the NFC North? I can tell you one thing. I don't think you're picking the Bears.
I got the Bears. No, actually, I like the Packers, the plus 400. I think they have the most value in this whole division. They can do it all right, and their defense can actually stay healthy and stuff. And Jordan Love can play not to an elite talent, but like a semi good. I mean, they can do it. I have them winning 10 games, so.
All right. I tell you what, the Packers are the best value pick in this division. I almost went with them, but I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions here. I'm going to go the favorite here at plus 140 to win the NFC North. Look, I wanted to do it, Peter. I just could not do it. I just feel like the Lions, they have too much built up talent the last couple of years, and it feels like this is their best opportunity to strike. While Jordan Love is sort of still learning, while Justin Fields and company are still down, and the Vikings are sort of not believers in Kirk Cousins. I just think this year kind of lines up well for the Detroit Lions. So I'm going to take them to win the division by 1 game.
I'll tell you something. If they do really, really bad, Dan Campbell's gonna get fired.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin here. I agree with that. If Dan Campbell underachieves here, which nobody expects him to, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but a lot of people are picking them like I am myself. If the Lions go 7-10 or 6-11, then you can get some real concerns because both coordinators for the Lions were up for head coaching interviews this last year. Aaron Glenn on the defensive side and Ben Johnson on the offensive side. I mean, both of them could be the successors to Dan Campbell. So you're right, Peter. You're 100% right. And Jared Goff is under pressure as well because if he doesn't come have a year like he did last year, he's going to find himself without a job in 2023 because in 2024 because the Lions drafted Hendon Hooker. He's not going to be healthy this year, but he'll be healthy enough next year. They added Teddy Bridgewater recently. I know Bridgewater isn't somebody that's your franchise quarterback, but if things go south, Teddy Bridgewater is somebody that can go in and win you a couple games. All right, Peter, let's move on to the AFC North. The AFC North is exciting, Peter. I like a lot of these teams in the AFC North. Their firepower on the offensive end here. So let's talk about it with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals favored to win the AFC North at plus 150. Their win total, according to DraftKings, is at 11.5. A little bit about the Bengals offseason. They signed offensive tackle Orlando Brown Jr. They signed him to a 4-year deal worth $64 million. Orlando Brown coming over from the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost cornerback Eli Apple to the Miami Dolphins. Safety Jesse Bates assigned with the Atlanta Falcons in free agency. In the first round of the draft, they selected edge rusher Myles Murphy from Clemson. I think it's also notable that Joe Burrow hurt his calf in practice a couple weeks ago. It's unclear how long he's expected to be out for, but he is expected to be available for week 1. I personally expect him to be available. I know Jamar Chase said otherwise. Jamar Chase is like, dude, don't play till week 4 or week 5. I just don't think Joe Burrow is wired that way. I expect to see Burrow week 1. But what do you think about the Bengals here, Peter? Plus 150 to win the AFC North with a win total at 11.5 wins.
Yeah, I'll be there week 1. I have them as the over. Don't overthink it. Best offense in football. They revamped their offensive line. Hopefully Joe Burrow doesn't get killed. He didn't really get killed last year, so I think they'll be fine. Second best quarterback in the NFL. Don't overthink it. Over.
I agree with you, Peter. Don't be afraid of the Joe Burrow calf injury. It's a calf. It's not an ankle injury. So I don't imagine it's going to linger. I think the Bengals addressed the offensive line this year, which was good, something they needed to do. I'm taking the over here, Peter. I like this Bengals team a lot. And it feels like they've been knocking on the door for the last couple of years. I think this year is poised. This year is poised for Joe Burrow and the Bengals to really make some waves. Over. I don't think there's really much to be said here. I think the under would not hit in a circumstance if Burrow gets hurt again, or maybe the offensive line can't protect him.
Yeah, that's that. If it's Burrow, that's a hard over.
Burrow's there, hard over. Let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens. They are at plus 235 to win the AFC North with a win total at 9.5 wins. The Ravens, I think their most notable offseason acquisition was re-signing one of their own. The Ravens re-signed quarterback Lamar Jackson to a 5-year deal worth $260 million after a lot was made that Lamar Jackson could seek greener pastures. He ended up re-signing in Baltimore. When push came to shove, the Ravens showed him the money. Lamar was happy to take it. They signed wide receiver Odell Beckham to a 1-year deal worth up to $18 million. And with their first round selection, they selected wide receiver Zay Flowers from Boston College. So the Ravens set at 9.5 wins with a division odd total at plus 235 with the AFC North. What do you think about the Ravens in 2023?
I like the Ravens this year. I think I have them as the over. I think Lamar Jackson's going to bounce back after he got all of his money. Running backs, who cares? I mean, they got OBJ. They got our guys, Zay Flowers. Their offensive line should be good. Their defense, I don't know. I mean, they're usually pretty good, but it's going to be a resurgence from Lamar Jackson. I'm not just saying that because he's on my fantasy team, but over.
Taking the over. I'm going to also take the over, slight over, though. I think the Ravens win 10 games. I think they go 10-7. I think they're going to be a team that, when healthy, when things go right, they're a tough team to stop. Now, health is a question. Can Lamar Jackson be healthy? Can Odell Beckham be healthy? Can J.K. Dobbins get healthy? Can they keep some guys on that defensive side of the ball healthy? I think that's some question mark for the Ravens team. And internally now, they paid Lamar Jackson. They gave him all that money. Are all those issues we saw in Baltimore done with? I know John Harbaugh, there was a little bit of issues in that locker room last year. He made some questionable decisions going for it on 4th down. He was definitely not happy Lamar Jackson didn't play down the stretch. I don't think the locker room was healthy that Lamar Jackson didn't play. I think the locker room was pissed at Lamar and John Harbaugh. So I think that's something to watch out for in 2023, but I'm going to take the over. All right, let's move on to the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, with a win total set at 9.5 wins, they are plus 380 to win the AFC North. The Browns this offseason, they traded for wide receiver Elijah Moore, acquiring him from the New York Jets. They also acquired pass rusher Zadarius Smith from the Minnesota Vikings. And obviously, the Cleveland Browns did not have a first-round pick, as they gave away like $1 million to acquire Deshaun Watson. So the Cleveland Browns plus 380 to win the AFC North with a win total at 9.5 wins. What do you think about the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson finally getting a full year of offseason kind of rehab here? I shouldn't say rehab. Getting kind of
full workload.
Full workload. Finally getting a year in the playbook, that sort of thing.
So this is the hardest team probably in the NFL to figure out. I have them as a slight under, just a little bit. I mean, they got a great quarterback. I don't like their receiver. Mark Cooper, I think, is toast, and Elijah Moore, I think, is terrible. But Nick Chubb should ball out. There's no Kareem Hunt anymore. The defense should be probably a top 10. They got Myles Garrett. You don't need anything else. But I mean, it's all dependent on Deshaun Watson if he can stay healthy, or if he can just like take off the rust, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was either or. I'm in the slight under.
Taking the under. I'm also taking the slight under. I think the Browns win 7 games. It's not actually. This isn't slight. This is more. I guess
that's pretty good. That's a lot.
I'm sorry. I was thinking in my head it was 8. It was 8.5. But no. The total is 9.5, and I'm going to take the under. I think the Browns win 7 games. I think they go 7-10. I think overall they disappoint. Kevin Stefanski, this is a big year for him. He could be somebody that finds himself on the hot seat if the Browns don't make the playoffs. Look, they spent a lot of draft capital and a lot of money to acquire Deshaun Watson. To put up or shut up time, I still think there's some rust on him, despite the fact that he's my fantasy quarterback, Peter. I'm not in love with him. I'm not. And I do have some question marks about that offensive line as a whole. And I just think when you're in a division with the Ravens and Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think are a good team as well, I think it's going to be difficult for the Browns. I think they're going to find themselves into a lot of close games this year, and they're going to find themselves on the wrong end of them.
I don't even know what they can do because they mortgage their whole future, obviously. I mean, that's the right thing to do. But I don't know. I feel like they're going to be in hell.
Like, what happens if Deshaun Watson looks like Russell Wilson did last year? Like, what happens? Well,
I don't know. That's how the Broncos went.
It's not going to be Russell Wilson's fault. I'm sorry. It's not going to be Deshaun Watson's fault. It'll be Kevin Stefanski's fault. He'll get blown out, and then they'll have a new head coach, and they'll try to go with it like that. That's what'll happen. Yeah. All right. Last but not least, Peter, of the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have the longest odds to win the AFC North at plus 450, with the win total set at 8.5 wins. The Steelers offseason was probably, I guess, headlined by acquiring wide receiver Allen Robinson from the Los Angeles Rams. They also signed quarterback Patrick Peterson to a 2-year deal worth $14 million. In the first round of the draft, they selected offensive tackle Broderick Jones from Georgia. Broderick Jones, he was one of the offensive tackles that was linked to the Patriots. I remember looking at a lot of his stuff. But Pittsburgh Steelers, longest odds to win the AFC North at plus 450, with a win total of 8.5 wins. Shout out Spider-Man. What do you think, Peter?
Shout out Spider-Man. We love Spider-Man. I have them as the over. I almost picked them as the under, just go 8-1, but like I can't predict the ties. So I have them as the over. Obviously, you've heard that stat a million times, but Mike Tomlin's never been under 500 ever in his career, so I don't think we'll start now. I like their wide receivers. Allen Robinson will be a great third receiver. George Pickens is that guy. I think Kenny Pickett is that guy too. Najee Harris can't be as bad as he was last year. And again, as I said, probably this whole division, other than Brown, he'll have a great defense as well. Top 5, top 8.
I'm with you. I love the Steelers team. I think they win 9 games. I think they go 9-8. I could see them going 10-7. I think this team is underrated. I think it's one of the most kind of underrated, slept-on teams in the NFL this year. I agree with you. I'm a Kenny Pickett guy. I think he showed some flashes last year, and I think he's going to take another step forward. I love what they surrounded him with, acquiring Allen Robinson, Pickens, who I love. I think he's a real difference maker. Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, I really like him as well. And look, Najee Harris, he's coming off a down year, but I do think the Steelers address the offensive line, and he theoretically should be better. And I think that's kind of how it's going to go in Pittsburgh from an offensive standpoint. In the second round of the draft, they drafted Joey Porter Jr. He's a cornerback from Florida State, who I really, really think could make a real impact on that Steelers team early on. I like this team a lot. Mike Tomlin, goes without saying, he is one of the best coaches in this league. And I forgot to mention, talking about receivers, Deontay Johnson, who is somebody that can stretch the defense and be somebody that can really take the top off a defense and make a difference. Look, the Steelers, they're trying to take that mold what the Philadelphia Eagles did. Kind of, I know they don't have the necessary talent that the Eagles do, but they're surrounding their young quarterback. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Allen Robinson, Pat Fryermuth. Those are 4 good targets, especially for a young quarterback.
No, what Bill Belichick do? Devontae
Well,
Parker, Juju, Mike Gesicki. Oh no. Ramondre Stevenson's cool. Oh my God, we
yeah.
got Zeke. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Oh no.
Can you get his jersey?
Hmm.
No. Yeah, I don't think so either.
Maybe. Maybe. Actually. I don't know. Probably not.
TBD. So, Peter, who do you like to win the AFC North? I think I know where you're going, but I think you know where we're both going.
Yeah, I have them as the Bengals. Don't overthink it. If the Bengals were in this division, I'd pick the Steelers. But the Bengals.
I'm going Bengals too. Don't overthink this one. Cincinnati Bengals might be the best team in the NFL. They win this division.
Yeah, they could be.
I think they're right in the
Have they ever
discussion.
got a number 1 seed? No, right?
No, they've always had to go to
Well, with
Kansas
Burrow.
City or
Yeah.
wherever. Yeah. So, all right, Peter. So that concludes our division breakdowns for the 2023 football year. Yay.
Yay.
Insert like celebration theme songs. Celebrate. Yeah. Clap, clap.
So in real life, I got a division on the Dolphins. There you go, Matt. I got your Panthers and then the Packers and then the Cowboys.
Those are your 4 real tickets. I don't have any real tickets yet, so I will update you when I have the real tickets.
And then over on the Patriot win total, just because.
So he's got 5 tickets.
Yeah.
No, I haven't done that yet. I'm just gonna wait for the preseason to end to make sure nobody gets hurt or anything like that. And then
Play the odds. Who cares?
yeah, you're right.
Who gets hurt? Who cares? He sucks anyway.
Well, what are you gonna do? All right, Peter. So, like I said, that concludes our division breakdowns. We are gonna do a awards in a couple weeks and Super Bowl predictions. Next week, we're gonna do a little college football. So before we do 5 questions, Peter, I just have an NBA point I want to bring up. Hope that's cool with you. James Harden. James Harden, who formally requested a trade from the Philadelphia 76ers like 2 months ago. Maybe it was a month ago.
One suck bag after another.
Yep. He was in China for, I don't know, I imagine it was like a shoe promotion deal or something. He was in China for some reason. And he publicly said he is never going to play for Daryl Morey in the Philadelphia 76ers again. With training camp rapidly approaching, it feels like the 76ers have no leverage. And it felt like the 76ers wanted to bring back James Harden. And James Harden looks like he's not going to report. Now, is that just tough talk, or what do you think kind of goes with this whole James Harden saga?
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, obviously he's unhealthy. I thought everybody and their mom he was gonna go like to the Rockets. Like, I don't know why that's happened. I guess nobody wants him. I mean, rightfully so. I think he can't play in the big moments anymore. I mean, if he's in China, he's probably like 30 pounds overweight by now. I don't really know. I mean, he's definitely unhappy. He requested a trade. I don't think they're gonna trade him though. And then what is he gonna do? Just pull Kyrie and just sit out the whole year? Maybe.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the moral of this saga here is he's ultimately going to get traded, right? It's just a matter of when, not if. But I do think he's going to start off the year with the Philadelphia 76ers. I do.
I don't think people want to pay him that much, though.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have some concerns. He's into his early 30s now. I think he wants to go to the Clippers. And I just think the Clippers know he wants to go there, so they're not offering him a lucrative package to acquire him. And why should they when there's no leverage? The 76ers don't have any leverage. So I do think the 76ers probably want to keep him for, I think for the grand scheme of things, if they could get a good package for him, they trade him. But I think they know that's not a realization right now. Their best path to move on from James Harden is getting involved in that potential 3-team deal that would be Damian Lillard going to the Miami Heat, and the Portland Trail Blazers, of course, moving on from Lillard. I think if they can get into that kind of deal, there's a lot of money moving on. I think that would probably give them the best opportunity. But I don't think Harden's getting moved anywhere yet. Yet is the key word.
NBA's almost back.
NBA schedule was released yesterday, Peter. Did you see the Christmas Day games?
I saw the Celtics playing the Lakers. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll read you the Christmas Day games. My last NBA point year.
That'll be cool. NBA's almost here.
It is. Training camp is in
like a month, isn't it? 2 months?
Yeah, no, I think it's like a month.
So the NBA preseason starts like
NBA preseason. NBA preseason's coming up too. So Christmas Day games, opening game, Bucks Knicks, 2:30 game, Nuggets Warriors, 5 o'clock game, Celtics Lakers, 8 o'clock game, Sixers Heat, 10:30 game, Mavericks Suns. The one issue I have is the Warriors Nuggets game should be the primetime 8 o'clock game. Not
No,
the
the
Heat,
Lakers
not
and
the Heat
Celtics should
Sixers.
be, no?
Yeah, you could make that argument as well. You could. I wouldn't be
Just for,
opposed to either.
just for ads and stuff?
I would, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to either. But I think the Nuggets, since they were defending champions, I think, and Steph Curry, but yeah. So, all right, Peter, that's my NBA rant. It's your turn to ask me 5 questions, right? Or is it my turn?
No, I'll do it.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, number 1, since we're on the NBA, what's your thoughts on the NBA tourney schedule that came out like a week ago?
The in-season tournament?
Yeah.
I remember I explained this to you, Peter, and you were just like, what the hell? And now you understand it a little bit?
No, I don't even get it. And like, why did they announce it like before the schedule came out? And like, all the groups are stupid. And you see the group that the Warriors are in, like Group C or something, they're just gonna sweep them all, and it really pissed me off. It's not even like balanced.
Look, this is something that's going to take time, and I think it needs to be adjusted. I think the reason is you're saying, why should I care? As a viewer, like, why do I give a shit? The reason I think you want to is you're going to likely get competitive basketball. It's baked into the schedule. The games still count towards a regular season schedule. And you're going to theoretically get competitive basketball. So I think that'll be good for the NBA. They need to incentivize it more for the teams. I know they're paying the players, but for guys like Jaylen Brown, LeBron, Tatum, an extra $500,000 doesn't really move the needle. As pompous and arrogant as that might sound, but that's the reality in the NBA with contract structure. But Peter, if I'm the NBA, I would make it if you win, you automatically get home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll just be like an 8 seed or something. If you're like,
that's something that they could do. Adam Silver's a big European soccer fan. It's big in Europe with soccer, and it works in soccer. But I think it works in soccer because in soccer there is no playoffs. It's just that regular season schedule goes, and whoever has the most points wins. So they're gonna try it. They're gonna get a lot. They're gonna pay a lot for ads and market the crap out of it. But we'll see if they can get people to care. That'll be the result. Give it time. It might not matter now, but in 5 to 8 years, maybe it's more of a big deal. Now, I have a question for you. Well, for example, let's say the Celtics win. Should they raise a banner for it?
No.
That's a serious question. I'm not even. That's a serious question.
No.
But they needs to be somewhere because I think it's going to be a bigger thing than you think.
They can put it in the Celtics Hall of Fame of the trophy that.
No, it's got to be somewhere. It's got to be somewhere.
Who cares?
It's got to be somewhere. Not a banner. No, absolutely not a banner. But they have it somewhere. I don't know.
Whoever does it is going to get memed on.
They are, but it won't be memed on in 10 years.
Yeah, because they're still searching for banner 18. All right, number 2.
Screw you.
I hope not. All right, number 2. Good segue from soccer. What's your thoughts? Have you watched the World Cup?
The Women's World Cup? Yeah. I watched the U.S. games.
Me too, and then I checked out.
Yeah, I haven't watched it since. And this U.S. team, look, they underachieved. They actually just fired their coach, or she just resigned. So, look, the U.S. women's team, they should have been right in this championship game. So, unfortunate conclusion.
Number 3, what's your thoughts on Messi? He's been there for like 4 weeks. He's been destroying everybody in Miami.
He's tearing it up, man. He's got like 6 goals. He's got 9 goals in 6 games. It's not even fair, man. It's the competition level between what he was playing at and what he's playing at now is just a complete.
Bro, it's must-see TV. I see it.
I'm not watching it. But I was disappointed that there was rumors that Neymar was going to end up at LA Galaxy. It didn't come to fruition. So that would have been cool to see Neymar and Messi battle. I don't mean to segue here, but so Neymar ended up going to his team in Saudi Arabia. Did you see his contract?
Oh, I did see that because everyone was like, "Oh, I get paid that." I did see that.
So he just signed in Saudi Arabia with, I think it's called Al Hilal. It's a team in Saudi Arabia. This is Neymar's contract. $326 million over 2 years. These are some of incentives. He gets a private plane. a fully staffed mansion, and this is where it gets crazy. He gets $546,000 per social media post that promotes the country of Saudi Arabia or the team. $546,000 per post or story. And he gets $87,000 per win. Man, that is absurd, dude.
Saudi Arabians, man. Blood money. What are you going to do?
That is a crazy amount of cash. So shout out Neymar, man. Get that bag.
Good for him. All right, number 4. What's your best thing that you got at a sporting event? I don't know if I asked you this, but like I went to the Nationals game and they have the best nachos you'll ever have in your whole entire life.
All right, when I'd go to Paw Sox games, I get the ice cream in the
Oh my God,
helmet
that was
cup.
so good.
Yep.
Rip to the Paw Sox.
Yeah, that'd be mine.
That's a good answer. I miss the Paw Sox. All right, number 5. I was just an uncle 2 weeks ago. Shout out to Tyler and Tate. Do you have any tips of being the best uncle ever? I know you're not an uncle, but like, are you?
No, I'm nowhere near that stage of my life.
Oh,
So
are you? Are you, Justin? No, I'm just kidding.
no, I mean, you have to do a balance between being chill and being like you can't overstep. So you need to
Really?
find that happy balance.
I was just gonna be like mellow. I was just gonna be like,
Yeah, no,
do
that's
whatever you
fair.
want, man.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But you can't go to a too extreme. Like you can't, for example, can't have the kid like if the kid's parents say no, they can't come to you and be like, "Hey, I'm doing this because my parents said no." You know what I mean?
Fair. I was gonna do that. I was gonna be like Tyler Tate, you can kick rocks. But yeah,
All right, that 5 questions.
5 questions, not about
All right.
football.
All right, Peter. Next week we will ask our guests some questions, so that'll be fun. College football, Peter. I'm getting ready for the entertainment, Peter. Make sure you conduct some research this week.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have the best sports seed you'll ever hear in your life, and it's not gonna be Wisconsin or whatever I said
All right.
last year.
Don't tell me. So if you missed our division breakdowns, check them out on YouTube or wherever you listen to this pod, Peter. It was another good division preview.
Another good year in the books. Stay hot.
Hell yeah, man.